I awakened the most useless F-rank ability in history. It can reset any designated non-living object within a 1-meter radius, back to its original state. But in practice, refreshing a book just gives you the same book. Refreshing a towel just gives you the same towel. So 3 months into the zombie apocalypse, my girlfriend grabbed the last half-pack of crackers and walked out on me without looking back, straight into another man's car. Before she left, she tossed an empty instant noodle cup at my feet, like throwing scraps to a dog. "Don't blame me, babe. Your ability is completely useless. If I stay with you, I'll starve to death." In despair, I stared at that empty cup, and a wild thought flashed through my mind. Refresh! A rich, savory beef aroma exploded in the air. Beneath the torn wrapper lay a perfectly arranged noodle cake and 3 seasoning packets. I froze. My ability wasn't useless. We had all misunderstood it completely. Resetting to its original state didn't mean the state from 1 second ago. It meant the state from the very moment it first existed. An empty instant noodle cup. Its original state was a brand new, factory-sealed cup of noodles. My heart was pounding wildly in my chest. Not from fear, but from pure, explosive excitement. I looked around the looted convenience store. The shelves were littered with torn snack wrappers and empty drink bottles. To everyone else, this was trash, but to me, it was an endless treasure. I didn't rush to make the noodles. In the apocalypse, any food smell could attract unwanted visitors. I carefully climbed up to the second-floor storage room of the convenience store, then barricaded the entrance with heavy shelving units. Only after confirming it was safe did I begin my experiment. I placed an empty noodle cup on the floor, and whispered in my mind, "Refresh." A barely visible ripple flashed across the cup, and instantly, another brand new cup of noodles appeared. Again, I held back my joy and kept going. 10 minutes later, a mountain of 60 noodle cups towered in front of me. My ability had a 10-second cooldown, which meant unlimited noodles, forever. Then my eyes landed on an empty water bottle nearby. Refresh. Instantly, a full 500-milliliter bottle of clean water appeared. I turned to a first aid kit on the floor, nothing left but the empty shell. Refresh. A brand new first aid kit appeared in my hands. My breathing quickened. Food, water, medicine, the most precious supplies in the apocalypse, were now unlimited for me. "Lily, you thought my ability was worthless? Just wait. One day you'll be on your knees, begging me for a bite of food." For the next 3 days, I locked myself in that storage room. The mountains of empty packaging piled up in there became my raw materials. Chips, crackers, chocolate, anything that could fill a stomach, I refreshed into boxes and boxes of supplies. Drinks and bottled water filled up half the room. Most importantly, I found an empty gas canister. With a portable camp stove from the store strapped to my back, I could finally eat something hot. After shutting every window in the room, I boiled a pot of water, tore open 3 seasoning packets, and gently lowered the noodle cake in. When that long-forgotten aroma hit my nose, my tears finally came. I cried and ate at the same time, wolfing it all down. It was the most filling, most peaceful meal I'd had since the apocalypse began. With a full stomach, my mind started to clear. Hiding here wasn't a long-term plan. The zombies would eventually break in, or other survivors would find this place. I needed to find a safer base, and I needed weapons. Having food and water alone would just make me a target, a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. I stuffed all my supplies into 2 massive hiking backpacks, then cracked the door open, and scanned outside. A few zombies wandered aimlessly through the streets. I took a deep breath and tightened my grip on a fruit knife I had refreshed. Sharp as the day it was made. Time to move. Leaving the store went smoother than expected. I used a maze of back alleys to dodge most of the zombies. When I came across a stray one, I smashed a freshly refreshed full can of soda into it, and while it staggered, finished it off with a knife. My destination was Blue Bay Community on the west side of the city, a well-known upscale residential complex. With a solid security system and tall, thick walls, it should have held up in the early days of the apocalypse. More importantly, my parents lived there. When the apocalypse hit, I was at school and lost contact with them. Finding them was the only thing driving me forward. But the road to Blue Bay Community was far harder than I'd imagined. The city had completely collapsed. Abandoned vehicles choked every main road. Along the way, I witnessed too many horrors. Violent clashes over scraps of supplies. In that moment, I understood with painful clarity that Lily's betrayal was perhaps just the smallest piece of a much crueler world. Here, humanity had already fallen apart. By the evening of the 3rd day, I finally reached the outer perimeter of Blue Bay Community. The tall iron gates were shut tight, and faint silhouettes stood guard along the walls. It had indeed become a survivor's stronghold. I watched from a distance for a long time. Getting inside meant going through their screening, so I reorganized my pack, hiding most of my supplies in a hidden drainage tunnel, keeping only 2 bottles of water and 1 pack of crackers, and played the role of an ordinary refugee heading toward the gate. "Halt! Who's there?" A sharp shout came from the wall above. I raised both hands and looked up, showing a face caked in dust and grime. "I'm a resident here. My name is Evan Lin. My unit is in Building 17. Building 17, Evan Lin." The person above went quiet, apparently checking via radio. A moment later, the iron gate cracked open just slightly, and a man stepped out, gripping a steel pipe, his face tight with suspicion. "ED," he said bluntly. I pulled out my ID, ready and waiting, and handed it over. He checked it, then looked me up and down. "Just you? Where are your supplies?" I lowered my head, my voice carrying just the right amount of choked fear. "Everything was taken from me on the way here. This is all I have left." The man frowned, looking skeptical, but faced with my scrawny frame and pitiful appearance, he finally let his guard down. "Come in." Remember the rules. All newcomers must hand over half their supplies for communal distribution. My chest tightened at that, but thankfully I had planned ahead. I nodded obediently and handed over 1 bottle of water and half the pack of crackers. The man took them, a flicker of contempt crossing his eyes, but he waved me through anyway. Once inside, the scene gave me some relief. Tense, yes, but at least there was order. People were patrolling, others were reinforcing the defenses, and women and children were sheltered together in the community clubhouse. This place was like an island in the apocalypse, temporarily cut off from the blood and chaos outside. A woman handling registrations told me. The community was now run by someone called Boss Leo, the former property manager. After the apocalypse, he awakened an Earth-type ability and organized a security team to protect everyone. Every resident received a daily food ration based on their contribution points. Those who wanted more had to join the patrol team or the logistics unit. I used poor health as an excuse and stayed out of any group for now. My immediate priority was finding my parents. But when I ran anxiously all the way to our front door, I found the security door forced open and the apartment ransacked. My heart sank. I rushed inside, screaming for Mom and Dad. Only dead silence answered me. A thin layer of dust coated the living room coffee table. They had been gone for at least several days. There were signs of a struggle on the floor, but no blood. A small mercy in a hopeless situation. I collapsed to the floor, seized by a helplessness and fear I had never felt before. I had no idea where to look for them. Just as I sat there, lost and hollow, footsteps echoed outside the door. A sneering voice called out, Well, looks like we missed one." I snapped my head up. 2 men were blocking the doorway. The one in front was shaved, bald, sizing me up with a predatory grin. I recognized him. He was one of Boss Leo's lieutenants, Scorpion. Scorpion licked his lips, looking at me like a piece of meat on a cutting board. The registered owner of this unit racked up a debt with Boss Leo a few days ago. They got kicked out. This place belongs to us now. My eyes narrowed. What did you do to my parents? Relax, we just kicked them out. That's what happens to useless people in the apocalypse. But you look like you got some fight in you. Stick around, run some errands for us, and maybe we'll let you eat. I had been so naive, thinking this place was a safe haven. Turns out it's the same here. The strong prey on the weak. As they moved closer, my hand quietly reached for the side pocket of my bag, where a freshly refreshed fruit knife waited. But just as I braced myself to fight, a cool, firm female voice cut through from the doorway. "Stand down!" Scorpion and his partner froze in unison. When they saw who it was, their smirks vanished, replaced instantly by fawning smiles. The woman in the doorway wore all black combat gear. She carried a Tang saber at her side, dark red blood still clinging to the blade, and behind her stood several equally formidable squad members. I recognized her. She was Lena, captain of Sharp Blade Squad, the most elite fighting unit in the security team. Rumor had it she had awakened a rare ability called Precision, with power that was impossible to measure, and she was Boss Leo's most trusted weapon. Lena ignored Scorpion entirely. Her gaze settled on me and she asked quietly, "What's going on here?" I grabbed at the lifeline. "They were trying to rob me." Scorpion's face shifted. He scrambled to explain. "Commander, don't listen to his lies. His parents owed contribution points. We were just here to claim the unit." "Since when does claiming a unit require 2 men blocking the door?" Her voice was quiet, but it carried an unmistakable authority. "Get out, now." Scorpion looked like he'd just been pardoned from execution. He grabbed his partner and bolted. With the threat gone, the tension drained from my body, and I nearly—
Follow, like, comment, and share for part 2.